Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Where Are They Going podcast. I'm with arguably the best girls soccer player in the state of Connecticut, Audrey Marin. Say what's up.
What's up?
So we've got some questions for Audrey, like I did with Cam, about her soccer journey and where she's going next. So let's get it started. Audrey, when did you start playing soccer?
I think I started in pre-K at Woodbridge Rec. It was a lot of fun. My older sister had already played, and my dad was the coach. It was also the situation where a lot of my classmates at the time played, on one team, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And why soccer over anything else?
I think it was a combination of things. My dad was a pretty big fan growing up. He played competitively. He grew up in Rochester, so his team was his high school team, he claims, was very competitive, and it was a pretty big accomplishment to make the varsity squad. And then he's a very big English Premier League fan as well, so it's always playing in the house. And then I think it was also like accessibility. The Woodbridge Rec was pretty easy to sign up for and play in comparison to some other sports. So I think it was a combo of things.
Yeah, I played soccer back in the day too, but I was awful. So, question 3, what other talents do you have outside of soccer?
Not many. I don't have any. I wouldn't say I have any like surprise talents. I think I'm a pretty decent skier. My family does a lot of skiing in the weekend. And then I also run track in the winter and fall, or winter and spring. But I actually should get some hobbies because I don't have too many surprise talents.
Favorite soccer players to watch / who influences your game the most?
My favorite player, I have two actually. One man, one woman. My favorite male pro player is probably Mo Salah. He plays for Liverpool. Um, he's really creative on the ball. And what I like about him most is probably his sportsmanship because he has like an incredible attitude. You look at some players like Ronaldo and Mbappe, and there's a lot of cockiness going on there, but he's not arrogant at all. He rarely takes credit despite him having an insane amount of skill. And then also like he has a very good soccer IQ, so he's just really fun to watch. And then I like Rose Lavelle a lot. She plays for the women's national team. I think she really transformed the team, especially in this last World Cup. She scored a bunch, and she's relatively young, so she was really impressive as well.
Biggest influence off the field? I'm guessing you're going to say your dad based on what you said earlier.
Yes, I was. He's pretty analytical about my games. He gives a lot of pre and post game chats. Sometimes they're like 2 hours long about advice, which can get annoying, but I also really appreciate it. And yeah, he's very analytical about the game. He gets really into it, so it's great to have that source of information and advice.
Favorite moment playing soccer?
I would probably say, so Amity girls soccer, my freshman year, we played hand at their field away, and we lost. I think it was 4-1 or 4-0. It was a pretty bad beat. Coach Quigley was very, very upset with us. It was kind of an upset. I don't think we were really expected to lose that bad. I think it was supposed to be a good battle, but it was like 6 days later. That next Monday, we played them on our home field and beat them 4-0. So that was pretty crazy. I think that was definitely one of my favorite moments playing. It sort of showed we trained really hard, and it showed sort of how that paid off.
Mm-hmm. Take me through the college decision process.
So, it was actually pretty choppy because I was communicating with a lot of schools freshman year, and that sort of got cut off. NCAA made a decision to postpone college communication to June 15th. So even though throughout my sophomore year I was sort of sending emails and whatnot, I wasn't hearing back until that day. So I think like sort of freshman year, I kind of was targeting the Ivy League or similar schools. I was thinking either Ivy League or NESCAC because I was hoping to get a pretty solid educational experience, and then also a good soccer as well. My dad went to Williams, and they were top of Division III, so I was thinking potentially Williams as well. But I went to some clinics freshman year. And then throughout sophomore year, I was sending a lot of emails with like footage and whatnot. And then June 15th, I heard back from like a decent amount of schools. And from then on, the process like sort of like solidified with which schools were like pretty confident and which schools sort of wanted to see me play more. So I is talking pretty heavily with Harvard, Cornell, and Dartmouth. And then so Harvard had a lot going on with their recruiting class. They had a lot of players from overseas, so they had some complications there and haven't, I guess, been focusing too much on recruiting since that issue. And then Cornell and Dartmouth both sort of made me an offer late summer. So I visited both schools and yeah, I picked Dartmouth.
Why Dartmouth?
So there's a lot of factors sort of that contributed. I think I would say this is probably first and foremost, my older sister is going and had gotten an ED last year. So I sort of consider myself similar to her. I think we track similarly academically. And, you know, I think that her opinion is one that I trust just because of how we get along pretty well and whatnot. So I think that how much she loved the school sort of rubbed off on me. I mean, it was a big topic of conversation within the household, especially after she had committed to go to school there. And then I had already visited the campus as well. Oh my gosh, tripped up a little bit. We took a trip to Hanover around the time that my sister sort of made that decision. And it's beautiful up there. It's pretty quiet, but I liked that, vibe. It also has a very big like outing club and outdoor culture, which I really like. They have their own ski mountain, and I really enjoyed skiing, so I'm excited about that as well. So I think all those factors sort of fit my personality and my my hobbies or likes. So I was excited about that. And then also I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of their players, who all of whom really fell in love with the school, fell in love with the team, the campus, sort of all these any factors I was sort of unsure about. They sort of helped to clear that up. And it was great to talk to them. They really sort of convinced me that this was a school that would fit me and fit what I was looking for. So I think all those factors sort of came together, and it really like highlighted that it was the right option. But Cornell was a really appealing option as well. I absolutely love the coach. The program's sort of transforming right now. And then we took a visit up there as well, and the facilities are awesome. So it was a hard decision, but luckily I had some factors that sort of helped clear up in the end.
And why commit so early?
So to be honest, I think that's sort of how the process flowed. I'm not sure if it hadn't been for the NCAA sort of postponing everything, if I would have been even sooner, or would it have been later. I'm not sure exactly how it would have shaken out. But I think that I did have an option to wait longer, but I was sort of confident in my decision and didn't want to risk losing the situation that I was sort of in, because these schools sort of are taking a risk as well when they hand out offers. And I think that they're inclined to sort of give you a time constraint. I wasn't given one, but I think that some pressure would have been placed at some point. And also I didn't know with COVID sort of where that was tracking, especially it looks right now that our season might be a little bit compromised. I play for CFC, and we were supposed to go to a tournament out in Florida, which we didn't go to. So I'm not exactly sure how this spring season's going to pan out. So I just sort of wanted that to be settled. And so all that sort of turmoil and unsure about the future sort of made me a little more like eager to get it done. So, but that's not to say that I wasn't at all confident in my decision. I was. So I think those factors sort of helped me make a decision sooner rather than later.
Now, this may sound like a stupid question, but since you've committed, you don't have to apply to college now, right?
So that's not a stupid question at all. I think that's a misconception. I do still apply, but
Okay.
it's called, there's like soft support, and then which is sort of like they can assist your application, and then there's like a supported slot, which sort of means you're like one of the 5 or 6 slots that the coach has each year to basically say, this is like who is on my team, or this is who I'm really, really helping out. So it definitely like heavily increases chances, but you do still have to qualify as an applicant.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if you didn't have to apply, you are incredibly lucky because that takes a long time. Advice to younger soccer players. I think this is the most interesting question throughout the entire show.
Yeah, this is a good one. I have a younger sister as well. She's in 6th grade and she is a very good player as well. She loves the game. So I think if I could tell when I'm looking at this question, what I sort of think about is like, what do I wish I could tell my younger self? And then that helps me with what I would tell other young players. And that's probably that what's most important is to train on your own because skill and technique is not something that can be developed as heavily in team practices. I think that's harder to tune when you're in a team setting and you're working on, possession or 4v4, 5v5. So that skill, that technique on the ball is harder to get better at in that setting. So it's something you really have to take aside time each week, each day even, and work on. For me, I started that later than I should have. I really started focusing on my individual game when I was probably like 12, 13. My younger sister's been doing it since she was like 8 or 9, and I'm really happy about that. So that would be definitely my biggest advice because technique, once you get older, once you're at the collegiate level, skill on the ball is not something that you can really improve that much. That's sort of muscle memory at that point. So that skill is something that you need to have solidified as young as possible.
I mean, when she's got 2 coaches in the house and you and your dad, it's probably easy enough to work on techniques. Do you envision playing professionally?
I think that if given the opportunity, I would definitely consider it. If not take it, absolutely. But I think I should probably see how these next 4 to 5 years pan out, as well as how I develop and grow, because playing professionally is rigorous and you have to be very good. So I have to see, sort of where I'm at. If given the opportunity, I don't think I'd hesitate because I think that experience is very unique. But I don't think it's something that I am absolutely set on doing at some point in my life. But if given that opportunity, I would be very interested.
Biggest strength in your game?
I would say what I'm most confident in is probably taking players on 1v1. I typically play in the wing. So I take the ball at the wing and then I cross it in. And that's also something I've been sort of training on my own since I was much younger. So that's definitely my biggest strength.
Biggest weakness in your game?
Ooh, that's a good one. I sometimes I struggle to get my head up when I'm playing, which is really important for combo plays and for switching the field. That's something I've also been working on, especially over quarantine. So that's my biggest weakness as of right now. And then another weakness of mine, which I think a lot of athletes share, is sort of the mental side of the game. I tend to get in my head a lot, especially when I miss a lot of shots or when I'm having a bad game. I hope to, at some point, be able to get myself out of that mental state in the middle of the game so I can improve for the second half of the game. Sometimes when I get in that headspace, I struggle to get out of it. So that's something I'm working on as well. And I think that there's not that much focus placed on, sports psychology and the mental side of the game. I think that's really important, especially as you get older. And I think that that's something that's should have more emphasis placed on it, especially in a team setting. So people know they're not alone because these feelings are real, and when it gets competitive, it's hard to keep yourself composed. So yeah.
Other schools, make sure to watch that clip and use it against Audrey next season. Favorite pregame meal? Now this is really where you got to think.
Yeah. It depends on what time of the day. Morning games. Every time it's scrambled eggs, banana, and toast. Every time. Lunch, it will be probably chicken and a salad or maybe a sandwich. But I try to keep it as organic as possible. And then also get some protein in there if I can.
Any pregame superstitions?
I don't have too many. I used to when I was younger. I tried to get out of that habit because if I would literally depend anything on that one superstition, if it was a sock or if it was a cleat or whatever it was. If I had a bad game, I would literally blame everything on that one habit that I had. So not really. I sort of got out of that habit, but I always quadruple knot my cleats because I have some fear that they're gonna untie in the most inconvenient time of the game. So if you consider that a superstition, then yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know a little bit about wearing soccer cleats as a Frisbee player freshman year. There's no such thing as a Frisbee cleat because nobody cares about Ultimate Frisbee. And the main cleat that everybody would wear were soccer cleats. And I actually got a pair from one of my teammates. And I remember wearing those freshman year and how like they're tight on the foot, but you need to make sure that like you tie it well because mine would always come untied all the time on the sidelines. Now you've played a fall sport during COVID. Talk to me about how that changed the season.
So I think first and foremost that we're pretty Amity girls soccer and boys soccer and all other fall high school sports that we're able to play. I think we're pretty fortunate to have had a season at all. I know that with a lot of these indoor sports, it's more difficult to make that decision because of how COVID is transferred. So we were really lucky to be able to make it as far as we did. Of course, trainings and games look different with masking and distancing. Senior day was harder because we couldn't have fans until much later in the season. But in the end of the day, anything is better than nothing. It was a bit unfortunate to have our season cut short, but we are lucky to have made it as far as we did.
And you had some really cool guy filming all of your games, right?
We did. We did.
Yeah, if you don't know, I'm the guy who filmed most of those games. And then there was an article I saw on Game Time CT, shout out to the guys over there, and it said that you guys had to like drop out of one of the tournaments because of COVID. You talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the SEC was split up this year into divisions regionally because of COVID. And then this was just a postseason SEC tournament that we play in each year. It was the postseason, so it would be the last like 2 weeks of our season. And we had a player turn positive, and so we didn't get to play these last 2 weeks. I think it was a little frustrating on the team that this happened. However, this is sort of like how this pandemic works, and it's not always avoidable. These things happen. It's completely understandable. And it sort of is what it is. I think we were hoping to end the season on a high note in this tournament, but these things happen. And we had a lot of team Zooms to chat after that last practice and catch up.
And there were other schools that had to drop out, right? It wasn't just you guys. I think there were like 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, I think so. Platt Tech also dropped out, and then Laurelton Hall I know of. There may have been one more, but I know that we had played Laurelton Hall just prior to this positive case, so they also quarantined just for extra precaution.
Now, here's another question. If you guys played in that tournament, do you think you would have won it?
So we would have had to beat Shelton, and this season we had not beaten them the 2 times we played them. However, I think we definitely could beat Shelton. We have the skill, we have the depth. I think that had we played them again, this is also a biased opinion, but I am fully confident that we could have won that tournament. But
and then you said you do track as well. How does that help you on the soccer field?
Yeah, track is definitely a big help. Coach Burns coaches the girls indoor and outdoor track team, and he is a very successful runner himself. And he also has a lot of knowledge on running mechanics and how to run efficiently. And so I've been doing this since freshman year, and I've learned a lot. He does a lot with film too to sort of break apart the mechanics. And I've definitely gotten faster and more efficient in my running. And also my position requires that those straight sprints So those sprinting intervals and who can get to the ball first it sort of makes all the difference. So a half a step, 7 inches can make literally all of the difference, and depending on who wins the ball or not. And then that could be the difference between a goal or not a goal. So running and sprinting and running efficiently is really important in soccer, and especially for my position. So I am fortunate to have had the opportunity to learn how to run faster. I actually am going to track later today, so I'm excited that indoor track has been able to do some practices, and then hopefully outdoor track can as well.
So what's the current state of that indoor track season?
It's still sort of unsure as of right now. I know that we're able to do practices outside. We have to fill out the COVID form, and there's masks and distancing, but I don't think there's no plans for meets for January or February. I think there's potential for a track meet in March, but I think it's hard to do. We compete at Floyd Little, typically the indoor track, and it is very crowded. There's lots of schools jammed into one area, so I don't know how feasible it is to compete there, but at least we're able to train.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my friends who does cross country and indoor track. Shout out to Josh Bache one time there. And he was telling me about how they're trying to do like a black and gold meet at the end of the year or during the year possibly, because they can't really have other schools come down and do a meet inside with a bunch of other schools and a bunch of people from different towns.
Yeah, I think that it would be like us and one other school. I don't know. Sometimes the meets are like 3, 4, 5 schools, and I don't see how that would work. But
now I just had an idea. What if you did Amity, because indoor track separated by boys and girls, right?
Yes.
What if you had both of those teams go against each other?
That's an interesting idea.
There you go.
I think the guys team would win though.
Who would win that?
I want to say girls would win, but I think biology says otherwise.
Now I have to ask about those pictures behind you, because all through this podcast, I can't take my eyes off them.
I forgot. Those are framed photos of me and my 2 sisters playing soccer. Yeah, I think that was when I was probably 11 or 12. That's my younger sister right there. And then that's me. That's my older sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got all 3 on one wall.
Yes.
That's nice.
A little collage.
Yeah, there you go. Well, this has been episode 2 with Audrey, Marin. Do you think we should have anybody else on the series in the upcoming episodes?
I think there's a lot of great athletes. I can't think of anyone specifically, but I'll definitely get back to you.
Yeah. All right, so that's been episode 2. Keep it going for episode 3 next week. We'll have Tyler McLean on here. Ugh, I can't speak. And anyways, see you guys next week.